Hey, it's Bill DeWeese, pro voiceover talent and voiceover career coach, and thanks for joining me for another video. Yesterday, my video, I began talking about the mindset that is critical for success in voiceover. And I really got that mindset from my father. And one of the things that I shared, in case you didn't see the video, he encouraged me as a young child to really think not like an employee, but like a business owner. And what I have found over the years in learning to become independent, a business owner, not an employee, is that it requires a shift in thinking. There's a fundamental difference in thinking as a business owner, which we are as voiceover talent, as opposed to a business employee. And it has a lot to do with taking on the responsibility. When you're an employee, you don't have to carry the responsibility all yourself. When you are self-employed, when you are heading your own organization, even if it's just yourself, it requires taking complete and total responsibility for everything that happens. Even in a bad economy, that's not an excuse. You can't look outside and point fingers at people or circumstances or things. It's always on you. So today, I want to follow that up in this, again, as we talk about mentally what is required, the mindset for success in voiceover. And it requires mental toughness. Mental toughness. And, for many, that's just something that they've never had to do. And life circumstances tend to dictate how tough we need to be. Most of us don't go out looking to become mentally tough. We go through situations that kind of toughen us up, sometimes in ways that we'd never wanted to be toughened up. But if you're going to be a successful voiceover talent, you're going to need to have mental toughness. Well, what does that mean? There's three things I want to touch on briefly to help you understand and to develop mental toughness to prepare you for success in voiceover. Number one is you have to adjust expectations. There's a gap between dreaming of a goal and executing and achieving that goal. And in our fantasy, it's always extremely, it's glamorous, it's fun, it's exciting, it's easy, and it's always exhilarating. When in reality, all of those things are there, but in reality, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get there. And if our mindset is such that we expect it to be all fun and games and smooth paved roads and all of that kind of thing, well, when we start hitting those bumps along the way, which inevitably we will, we get distracted, we get discouraged and think, oh gosh, it's just not worth it, because we didn't have the proper mindset. We had not adjusted our expectations. To achieve anything in life really requires stretching yourself and learning and getting outside of your comfort zone and facing adversity. And I know you know this. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but sometimes it just does not penetrate our consciousness. And even though we know it here, we really haven't totally accepted it down here. But success is difficult. It's full of twists and turns and unexpected events and challenges and difficulties. And certainly they're worth it. That's how we grow. That's how we move forward. That's how we elevate our game, how we elevate our life. But you have to expect and anticipate that it will be difficult. Not everybody's going to say, yes, I want to hire you. You're going to find, there are areas where you need to develop in terms of your skill set. There are just things that you will have to face. And if you acknowledge that up front, then it will be no big surprise when it happens. You just realize this is part of growth. It's part of getting to where you want to go. So adjust your expectations. The second part of mental toughness is acting as if you have no safety net. One of the great blessings that I had as I transitioned into voiceover, which at the time did not feel like a blessing, it felt like a curse. And isn't that the way life so often is? We look back on the worst things that ever happened in our life, and they ended up being the thing that propelled us to the best part of our lives. I lost a job. I was downsized from the job, and eventually that company went out of business. And so I had nothing to go back to. I had nothing to go back to. I was starting from scratch. So in other words, I had nothing to lose, but I had nothing to go back to. So when I started in voiceover, I was not working another job. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying quit your job and go into voiceover. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm saying you need to have the mindset that your bridges are burned, that there's nothing to go back to. Because when we have nothing to go back to, we become resourceful. We start asking ourselves empowering questions. Instead of saying, well, why isn't this working out? We start saying, how can I make this work out? Because when we have something to go back to, we can always hedge our bets. It's like, this is not working out. I need to go back to what I was doing. But if our mindset is, no, I'm not going back, so it's not why is this happening, but how can I make this better? How can I make this work? All of a sudden, you will become resourceful. Your mind will come up with solutions instead of heaping on more problems. But you have to have that mindset of the bridges have been burned and there is no safety net and there is no turning back. And and it's not easy to do, but if you can adopt that mindset and hold to it tightly, regardless of what happens, you will become empowered to come up with answers and solutions to continually move forward. The third and final one, keep your eye on the goal and direct your energies into high-yield activities. This is important because there's always a lot of stuff that you can do. There's a lot of distractions along the way, and sometimes it's hard to discern between distraction, what's actually beneficial and what's not beneficial. In my experience, I found that usually there's only a few things that are truly important. There's a lot of stuff out there that you could do that may be helpful, may not be, but there are usually just a few core handful of things that are truly mission critical. And I want to encourage you to identify what those are. And that's a big part of what this YouTube channel is about. And I think as you go through videos or if you're in any of my training programs, you begin to learn and understand the things that are most important. But begin to weed out things that really are not supporting you in your efforts to get to where you want to go. And they may be distractions. And just let me give you some examples. And these are personal. It can be different for different people. But one of the things that I no longer do, I don't participate in voiceover Facebook groups. Apart from my own, I have a private coaching program, the Voiceover Blueprint, and we have a private group. But the purpose of that, it's very specific and missional in helping the people develop and grow their voiceover businesses and their voiceover careers. But outside of that, I don't participate in voiceover Facebook groups. I'm not against them, and you may feel the need to socially do that to some extent, but I've found that they can drain a lot of energy and there's a lot of negativity, and it's just, for me, that's not a high-yield activity. It doesn't support my mission. Another thing is like voiceover events, and there are good voiceover events, and there are some great trainers and coaches out there, and there are things to be learned. But overall, participating, the energy, the time, the finances, the resources that are required to do that do not support my mission. What I can get from my own booth. Now, again, I'm not saying those should be your priorities. I'm just saying these are things that I've weeded out over time, things that I don't need, things that really don't support my mission. You have to determine what those are for you and then become laser focused, because believe me when I say, if you talk to anybody who's had any success in voiceover, I'm quite confident they will back me up in this, that you have to be mentally tough to be successful in voiceover. To be successful in anything means growth. It means stretching yourself. It means becoming uncomfortable. But you got this. You can do this. And that's, one of the reasons I do what I do when it comes to the coaching and mentoring part of things. So thanks for checking out the video. If you get frustrated, know that we all get frustrated. That's not a sign that you're failing. Frustration or even, failure along the way, things not working out the way you expected, doesn't mean you're a failure. It just means you need to pick yourself back up and find another way and ask yourself, how can I make this happen? So again, thanks for checking out the video. I hope you find it helpful. Make sure to like, share, subscribe. And if you want to find out more about my comprehensive coaching, teaching, mentoring program, the Voiceover Blueprint, there'll be a link down below in the description where you can set up a phone call to find out if it's a good fit for you. Thanks again. Take care. Talk soon.